Good afternoon. It's Friday afternoon, Erev Shabbos, November 18th, 2011. We're here at the Fifth Avenue studios, and we're here with Mrs. Fayge Kleinbart. Fayge made the mistake of reading God and Evil, and her second mistake was sending me an email with commentary and some questions. And her third mistake was agreeing to a live, no-holds-barred discussion interview. But I feel that Fayge represents a certain constituency, and I felt it's a different constituency than represented by the other symposiums or interviews or evenings that we've had today. And first I'd like to ask Fayge to tell us a little bit about her family, and maybe about her, the family she comes from, etc. Here we go.
Actually, my husband and I are both remarried, and we've been married 21 years. We have 2 daughters together, and we have, my husband had a son and a daughter from a previous marriage, and I have a son from a previous marriage. So together we have 5 children, and we live in Brooklyn, in what is known as the Midwood region, and we go to Orthodox shuls. And
for instance, which shuls do you go to? What's the name?
What's the name of the shul?
Okay. Do they have names? Yeah.
Rabbi Gelder's
shul.
Okay.
Which is, we call it generically, it's a yeshiva type meaning.
Okay.
Which says people like ourselves, people who are by and large college educated, but they went to yeshivas and perhaps beyond yeshivas.
And the rabbi is Rabbi Gelder's and
Rabbi
Gelder's.
Okay. 1 second. Is it loud enough, Carlos? Okay. Would you have to move closer? Okay. So, anyway.
And I went to a yeshiva high school. It was in Lubavitch. It was a Beis Rivka. It was not very rigorous, and I went to a seminary after that.
Which seminary?
There's also Chabad.
What's it called?
It's also called Beis Rivka.
Beis Rivka, and that was where?
That was in Crown Heights.
It's important because people have to know.
Oh, yes. And
people
it was
have to
in
understand
Crown
what we're
Heights.
talking about.
And then, I don't think that my education was extraordinary, but it was a smattering of basic philosophy and Chabad philosophy as well. So there was Hasidus as well as the regular Jewish mainstream philosophy.
Okay.
And then I went and I got a degree in English, but I ended up working in a computer field for about 15 years.
Right.
And then I became an assistant director of a community-based organization.
Right.
And then I became a case manager in an organization that helped people with traumatic brain injuries. And currently I'm a nurse.
So what do you tell us about
City Hospital.
I thought your hours were interesting. Tell us about your hours as a nurse.
Well, because I work for a city hospital, they still work on the 8-hour shifts. I work from like 3:30 to midnight.
How many days a week?
5 days a week, Sunday.
Right, 5 days a week. Right. Okay. Very good. And you want to tell us a little bit about your family heritage? So
my parents were both Polish, and they survived the Holocaust because they ran to Russia. All of their parents and cousins all perished in the Holocaust. But the ones that ran to Russia were able to be saved if they were lucky enough to survive the rigors of physical life there, because the Russians would send them to Siberia and then to other places. But by and large, they were, both of them, able to come out of the war with several of their siblings still alive. Although some of them had siblings that perished as well, they each had siblings that perished as well, but 2 or 3 of the siblings did survive. So you were born where? In the United States. Which city? In Brooklyn. In Brooklyn, the city of Brooklyn. And you've lived in Brooklyn straight since then? But I'm going to show you that very similar to many people. My oldest sister was born in Uzbekistan, and my middle sister was born in a DP camp in Germany. And my husband was born in a DP camp in Germany. So that is similar in a lot of ways. I mean, people who are survivors, and they ended up after the war in a DP camp in Germany, or in Austria. They ended up after what? After the war, they ended up in a DP camp in either Germany or Austria. I see. Okay. Quite a saga. Okay. So one might say you were forged in fire in your family. Okay. With your permission, I want to ask you, say, some of the things you liked about God and Evil, or what you like most, and then we're going to go into
some issues or questions we want to discuss together. Fair?
Yeah.
Okay, your floor is yours. What did you like most about the book? Or what one or two things you like most about the theory or the book?
Well, I didn't know anything about the area called theodicy. So I very much appreciated the way you laid out the first and second portions of the book, because you clearly defined the kinds of issues there are in believing in an omnipresent, omniscient, all good, powerful God, and then the existence of evil in the world, both moral and natural. So I like that layout. Then I like the portion where you described all the answers to that have been given thus far, and really most of them had thought through, but they're not satisfied. So I of course I reached to the third part, where then you had the two portions of a better world, one might say, where there's less evil or no evil in the Garden of Eden situation, but that would be more like the robotic type of world, versus a world where there is potential and freedom, which allows a person to grow.
How do you react to that?
That was exciting.
How was it exciting?
Because you feel that that evil is not an end all itself. It leads humankind, or whatever you want to say, to a better place, a higher level of potential, you might say, where we're evolving to hopefully obtain, goals that are better for all, and the growth is unlimited.
Right.
So I felt that humankind can feel that we're not the speck of dust in the cosmos, where it's just a chance thing. We're here with so much potential, and it's God potential. In other words, I have that ability to latch onto that.
Right, that's precisely the point of the hypothesis.
Okay.
That's precisely the point of the book. So, you who narrowly escaped annihilation are now finding yourselves an entity of unlimited potential. Not so bad, right?
But that was luck, you see what I'm saying? And what is luck if it's not God's divine intervention? See, there but for the grace of God, I could have been one of the cousins that perished.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying? That's the part that we're working on. We don't like, I don't like to feel it's the precariousness. Is it, whim that makes me be picked and somebody else not be picked? And if tomorrow that whim changes, then I'm down the dregs. But I still believe, even if I'm down the dregs, I'm gaining. There's something in that horrible experience, in a lifelong perspective, that allows one to be in a better place. And I say this because when I was not married and I was in a bad situation, I was telling somebody yesterday or whatever that if you had given me a choice saying, do this and you will have your wonderful son, or don't do this and you will avoid all the pain but you won't have the son, I would have said, oh, I'll avoid the pain easily. I would have done it in a flash at the moment when I was suffering. Okay? But perspective and 20 years of healing, I would say that's the craziest thing in the world to do. Why would you ask me that question at that moment? Because I wasn't capable of making the right choice. Now, I think that there wouldn't be any amount of suffering that wasn't worth coming up with my son and my grandchildren.
Right, exactly.
But,
with themselves, unlimited potential.
But that's only because I'm standing in a different spot. So as you said, the people who have gone through the Holocaust and suffered and lost, or as somebody just told, this goes down to everybody, right? This goes no, it's like somebody wrote recently a book, and she said a person who went through the Holocaust and was raped afterwards, and in the afterwards, and other things. And then she came to New York and wanted to go to a shul. She didn't have the money for a seat. You know, so here she sacrificed. I mean, she was actually put on the line for death because of her affiliation with Jews, you know, being a Jew. And now those same people wouldn't let her get into it.
Well, that's a little bit of an extreme situation.
Yeah, that was an extreme, but I'm just saying, in other words, only a person in the place of comfort can say what I said. A person who's still suffering.
When you're in the crucible of suffering, you look at things one way. When you're at a distance from it, you look at it a different way.
Yeah. So that's unfair, you know, in a way. It's not clear. It's not a reality that stays. And one would like to think that there's a clear reality that is always a constant. You know.
I think as we get older, we see there's so many different levels to reality and perspective. We see the world from so many different directions. You know, and even depending on who you're with in the room, it affects how you see reality. And we are all complex entities. You know, we have personas on television. We have personas in an auditorium. We have personas in the living room, personas in the bedroom. These all have different layers to the same persona. That's part of the element of how profound we are. I joke around, humans are not so human. You know, we're more than meets the eye. You know. Now, in my brief encounters with Fayge, I find that she is concerned, I would say overly concerned, with the concept of hashgacha pratis. Does God control our every action? So we might as well not avoid the issue. We might as well deal with the issue with Fayge. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
All right. So I think we'll take a 2-minute break and just to take a deep breath, and then we'll come back in 2 minutes and we'll start with that subject. Okay? So this segment we're going to devote to hashgacha pratis, divine providence, sometimes called, and maybe if we have the energy, we'll have a third segment just to wrap up, finale, after this. So maybe we'll have about a 20-minute segment now for the hashgacha pratis, only because Fayge, Kleinbart is very focused on it. Okay, let me set the context. This concept in halakhic Judaism, one stream of thought says that divine is watching or controlling our every move to a great extent. Hashgacha pratis, providence, individual. But there's only one strain in Jewish thought which buys into it, not necessarily all strains of Jewish thought. Some strains of Jewish thought are that God sets a stage and man plays out his life according to his will, according to his own power, his own autonomy. But again, Fayge, in my perspective, represents a constituency. And so we have to deal with this constituency which she represents, whether she wants to or not, which buys into divine providence. Okay. So, now, first I want to put Fayge on the spot. The following question. Is the following true? The more we say there's divine providence, the bigger problem we have with Holocaust. Is that sort of true? The more we say there's divine providence, the bigger theological problem we have with the Holocaust. Would you say that's sort of true?
Yes.
Okay. So therefore, you're causing the problem, not me. Because I'm saying there's less divine providence, and therefore there's less, the Holocaust is a little bit less of a theological problem. It's a major theological problem no matter what. I'm saying the more you insist on divine providence, the bigger problem you have with the Holocaust. Okay. But let's set the intellectual stage here. Meaning you are causing the problem by insisting on, to whatever extent you insist on it, it causes a greater theological problem. If there's divine providence, then why did the innocent 7-year-old girl, by which she tortured to death, murdered to death, after she watches her mother being tortured, murdered to death? These are very serious issues here, a theological problem. Meaning, unless you push on that accelerator, you have a more muted issue, although it's still a very severe issue. Because if there's a God at all, in any shape, manner, or form, somewhere out there, watching or not watching in the here and now, why was a 7-year-old girl tortured, murdered to death after watching her mother, parents tortured, murdered to death? Even if you remove the whole issue of divine providence, if you remove hashgacha pratis, you still have a major issue.